Well, because again, Kira is on the self-important train, whereas Shin is on the revenge train. And I think I lean more towards revenge than I do. I'm part of the problem.
Yeah, okay, I can see that.
That's what I said. I don't know what the answer is to the seed problem, because that's just human beings. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Stoneface Reactions. I'm Theta, this is Lessons, and we are here with another episode of Mobile Suit Gundam Seed Destiny. As always, we are in our current format where we're going to do board notes and then get into the comment response before we do the episode reaction. And then, of course, whatever thoughts we have at the end of the episode will be there at the end of the episode. So, yeah, let's go ahead and hop on into the board real quick. Where, of course, I've got my board change log. So, one, changed Stella's connection to the Phantom Pain group from white back to green. She's been reincorporated back into the group. I added Go, Nishizawa, and Ikea, and connected them to the Archangel Green line. Marked Stella as dead. Marked Sting as dead. I added a red line from Go, Nishizawa, and Ikea to Sting as they directly fought him in the episode. And I changed the green line between Shin and Stella to purple.
We'll see if Kira and Shin line
also become a purple line.
Yeah, might become red soon enough.
I mean, they should already be. Yeah, they've already got a red line. Why wouldn't they have a red line? They've literally fought before. He just doesn't know that Kira pilots the Freedom.
I mean, he should now because, what's his name? Catherine said it out loud, which I didn't note in my notes. But
all right, I mean, anything else to say about the board?
Not really. Well, do we have a name change for Neo? Let me see.
Technically not confirmed. Somebody has to say it out loud. I mean, I think we all know it to be true, but it's not technically confirmed. I feel like you're going down the unknown section looking for Neo, even though it's never where he was.
Yeah, I know. I was looking actually for Ramus is the name.
Murray Ramus?
Yeah.
I was just thinking of Red October. That's what she's named after.
Yeah.
Alright, well then let's go into our thoughts. And I think I have more than you, which means that I should probably go first. That way I can burn through faster. So, the pink seashell thing Shin gives Stella ultimately had no importance whatsoever. She remembers who he is without it, ultimately. The number of times it makes an appearance on screen, I expected it to mean something or jar some memory. Kind of ironic now to think about it. It was in a jar. But it was Chekhov's seashell, and it meant absolutely nothing.
Well, she was wearing it as a pendant.
I know. I was hoping that you weren't going to bring that up. I have a future note about it, but I was hoping you weren't going to bring it up considering the fact that you keep all of your notes in episodic order. So if you think about this as episode, what are we on right now? 33?
33, yeah.
Yeah, if you're thinking about this as your episode 31 notes, right? It's 31. Compartmentalized. I mean, I don't do that, but this one specifically was. So if we're only talking about episode 31, then it's not in the necklace.
So my next note then. And this is more like a random note. It's not really much of importance, but it was like, as Captain Talia read Shin the Riot Act, the only thought that came to my mind was, welcome to the Gundam franchise. Because there's always a scene where somebody goes AWOL and somebody says, oh, you're going to throw the book at you. And then it's like, oh no, that's not going to happen at all. You're a player character. That's not going to happen.
Well, I mean, it's like a mirror of season 1.
Yeah, with Kira.
Yeah, well, I was going to say Ramius is Bad Girl, and also Mu was there.
So to your next note then.
I really have no problem with Shin's argument against Talia and Zaft HQ in regards to the cruelty towards Stella and the fact that she was dying. He's entirely in the right on that one. Extraordinary circumstances require extraordinary action, and he justified himself in order to save a person's life. Unlike before, when he saved all those people at the Earth Federation work camp, disobeying direct orders while in a combat scenario, this time, he at least acknowledges that he works within the confines of an organization and submits himself to whatever punishment is coming his way. I say unlike before due to the argument he had with Atherin back then, where he refuses to acknowledge that he was in the wrong in that moment. At least in this present scenario, he seems to acknowledge that he is in the wrong. That he was in the wrong when it came to his orders, even if he views himself in the moral right.
I would put an asterisk on that because I have notes about that later.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to put an asterisk next to it. You put an asterisk next to it. You're the one who has a debate about it. But again, for me, this is just my personal view. I don't foresee.
I mean, I don't disagree with his argument. Still, and he realizes that it's just the follow-up is the one that I'll go like, yeah, that's the problem. Now, the next scene is them. It's Chin and Ray in prison on the brig, and I have a couple of questions about that. When Chin says that to Arthur that they, unlike Stella, joined the SAF by choice, I wonder how true that is. Would Chin have joined if his family had not died a brutal death before his eyes? Would Arthur not have rejoined due to Durandal's suggestions to do so? Right, as well what he witnesses, in the stopping the Sala faction from killing everybody on Earth. The idea is that yes, they have far more input into this than Stella, who literally was bred into doing this. But the circumstances in which they exist, I mean, Arthur was Sala's son, so he already was a very important person. So serving in some capacity in the military or in the government was expected of him, I think. And then he rejoins, even though he chose early to even have another identity and stay out of the fighting. So, I can't stay out of the fighting. I have to join in, right? And that's because of what happened, when they were doing the colony drop and afterwards, right? But clearly, and when it comes to Shin, is like, what if his family had pulled out, right? If they all made it out in the boat.
If his family had pulled out, Shin wouldn't have been born.
That would be if his dad pulled out.
I mean, I disagree with your statement on the basis of. I mean, I guess it's inception, the basis of its inception, because you're denoting that they didn't have a choice because of destiny. Because, well, ironic because it's the name. I don't mean that because of the name of the show. Because of the events that colluded to create their life as it is, right? Because you're asking more of, would they have chosen this? What if, right? And that's not really the scenario that's painted in front of us. Because Shin is saying, she didn't choose this because she was raised from the beginning to always have been this, whereas Shin is the product of whatever fate occurred. So Shin chose to do this because of what happened. Now, what happened wasn't created for him to have become that. Actually, I do have a note about that possibility. It's like, conspiracy shit at the wall. But, and the Atherin debate. Now, you could argue that Atherin's first term of service may have been, like, his father pushed him that way. But the second time around with Durandal, that was his choice. He could have fucked back off to Orb, and we could have seen a whole thing about how Kigali would act with Atherin at her side at all those meetings. So, yeah, no, those two had choice. The fact that the world created the situation that they're in to make those choices does not preclude the fact that that's completely different from Stella's, artificial upbringing.
Yeah, but I think the argument is it's sort of the road note taking kind of situation where they made choices that were clearly informed by their past in such a way that it seemed like what would imagine what Shin would have been if his family had died and he chose differently.
Probably
right?
gamed him over.
Be a random civilian, a technician somewhere, and then he does something or other, right, and maybe gets involved in the fighting separately. He jumps into a Gundam or whatever, right? But the fact is, while there was Stella was born in a world where she had absolutely no choice, we still have a world where the bigger events sort of push people in a very specific directions. And we have people who are willing to exploit those situations in order to get what they want from them.
I mean, the inverse of what you're describing is, would Stella still have become a soldier if the war had never existed to begin with? Because what you're doing is, I said, you're what-ifing. And if you what-if, You can create any scenario where everybody's a victim or nobody's a victim or none of this is everything. Like any of those they're making a Witch from Mercury where they're just kids in high school, right? Same characters, just a different scenario where they're all just kids in high school. And it's like, well, you could do that your what if Shin, Stella, and Athrun were all just kids in high school. After they graduate, would they join the military? It's like, sure, maybe. I don't understand why the question has anything to do with the reality that we're in, though.
Yeah, but I think it's a matter of, I mean, I would say that they had greater latitude, but I think it also goes to the decisions they made once they joined, because Shin made the decision to rescue those people. Shin made the decision to, eventually go AWOL and take Stella back, right? And Arthur is saying, yeah, you made that decision, but this is not going to work, right? They're going to put her back. Basically, he's about to say they're going to put her back to fighting anyway. There's no reason why they should keep the word to you, right? So it's a question of destiny, right? How much is your free will a reality, and how much, especially when it comes to consequences, right? It's like, this is what you want to do, this is what you do, but these are the consequences they're in. Because that's also what Kira is fighting about, right? It's like, oh, I want to help save people, but I'm doing things that
just fuck off with Kira. Right? That's all. It's like Kira,
which I will have a note about that. Yeah.
Look, I even listened to the whole Ramius and Kira talk there at the little window, and I'm like, I got nothing to write about this. Fuck Kira. I don't care about Kira anymore. Well, anyway, I said my reaction to your thing. I don't have anything else to add about that.
That was my note. Yeah.
The hypocrisy of Athrun asking Shin if he's considered the fact that Stella has shot down many Zaft pilots. I pointed out before that it's open knowledge that they've talked about aboard the Minerva that Athrun defected during the last war and attacked and possibly killed Zaft pilots during that time. Everyone just sweeps it under the rug, but I'm waiting for the moment to come for Athrun to be reminded of Seed's constant theme. Hurt people hurt people. Someone in Zaft could be keeping tabs on him, waiting to get their revenge for someone he got hurt when he was AWOL.
I mean, in many ways, Ray, when he says, you said enough, it's kind of pointing that, I think it's pointing that direction. It's like, yeah, you keep talking, boy, you're just gonna mess it up. I
think Ray is more on the boat of nothing's gonna be gained from this, and I have to sit here next to you, so maybe just cut it out. Well, just like you said, they brought it up before that Athrun fought on the other side, and they did a little flashback of like the fleet fight scene. It's like Athrun bringing up the fact that, hey, she's killed Zaft pilots before. Surprised as hell Shin didn't pull back. So did you. We let you back on the ship.
Look at you. You're now all special with a shiny badge and everything. Next point. I hope the scene with Kigali with the orb defectors will turn to a real start of her taking back orb back from the Syrians. But I suspect that the Syrians will not give up as easily, and that they do have people loyal to them in the military, willing to defend them to the death. Because we do have that one scene of the guys like, oh, the Syrians are the ones in charge. I'm going to follow them. And he's the one who was kamikaze against the Minerva. So,
well, again, I disagree with your observation on that one, because I told you in my note section about that one about a different way that could be interpreted. And I know you disagreed with me on that too. So I'm just saying that obviously I can't agree with your perception of what was going on there if I've already stated that's not how I perceived it in the first place. But I thought that was a real stupid conversation, and I have a note about that in the future. The Amagi's crew on the Archangel talking to Kigali, specifically for the Siren part of that conversation. But you know what, actually, I'll just read that here and we can combine our thoughts together. I feel like it's a bit too easy for the show to give us Amagi's crew on the Archangel and have them exposit the situation back home. The last time we were back in Orb proper, the crowds were cheering Kigali's marriage to Yuna. The other representatives were backing the Siren's plan for the nation. Since then, we've gotten plenty of scenes where the news is telling us what is going on elsewhere, and they never used it to indicate to us anything going on in Orb. Especially since it is often the Archangel crew watching the news, and you'd think that they'd be the most interested in Orb-related matters. Instead, suddenly it's Amagi's guys sharing that the citizens of Orb are dissatisfied with Sirens. To be clear, I'm not disputing the message, I just find its delivery to be lackluster. Any number of those flashbacks could have been used to show us Orb's man-on-the-street coverage.
Yeah, but the problem with flashbacks is that they rarely show anything that we already haven't seen.
No, I'm talking about the time used in those flashbacks. Like, take 20 of those beach scene flashbacks and use it. Or, the weird random thing that we brought up before, guy selling wares under a tree with a bearded guy, or the weird guy holding a camera. If that doesn't pay off majorly somewhere down the road, that could have easily been guy buying newspaper with headlines saying something about Sirens in trouble. Or, we could have done something instead of this just, oh, by the way, us, the people who are exactly loyal to you because it's our one defining trait as characters, are going to talk shit about the Sirens, even though the Sirens seem to have everybody in their pocket the last time we saw them. Like I said, I don't disagree that being unpopular politically could happen. Yeah. I'm just saying that this just random poll, 30-something episodes in, 15, 20 episodes since the last time we were back there, this doesn't feel like the right way to do this. It feels unsatisfying in a storytelling perspective.
I mean, it feels like the writers are juggling a lot of plot lines, and this is one like, oh yeah, remember Orb and Kigali? Ah yeah, there's some people back home who aren't happy. Okay, thanks for telling us. Yeah, I mean, can be a little more detail, give me some sources other than second guy to the left said that. He's like, yeah, Spirit Carrier. People aren't happy with the Sirens at home.
Well, I was going to say, we all know that 4 out of 5 dentists typically agree, which means that there's already I'm not going to do the math on the fly. It's so easy math, but my brain just shit itself the moment it thought, no, don't try to figure out. Well, that's 1 out of 5, and then you double that to 10, and then it's like, fuck, no.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, point being that not everybody agrees. So saying that the Sirens aren't like 100% popularity anymore should just be like cooled, so they're not rigging the elections.
So to your next note, then.
We know that Durandal specifically picked Shin to pilot the Impulse, despite the fact that Rey is both connected to him and seemingly more skilled as a pilot. We know Shin is capable of going seed mode, but I wonder if that is the only reason that Durandal picked him. Would that imply that Rey can't go into seed mode? Is there some other reason for placing Shin in such a position and then protecting him from the fallout of his actions to keep him there? Is Shin Durandal's answer to Kira? Considering Durandal is a DNA expert and all that, and we've already introduced the concept of edited memories, are we going to learn that Shin's entire backstory is engineered? The only person that could dispute it died a few episodes back at Shin's own hand, or Gundam, as I've apparently written here. Another conspiracy theory to throw at the wall, I guess.
I do have a note about that, but I'll talk about Kira. I know you don't want to talk about Kira. You did mention something I want to mention right now, so
I don't want to talk about Kira. It's just my prevailing opinion of Kira is 2 middle fingers to the sky. So,
my next note. I like that Kira has some doubts about what he's doing, but I'm afraid that story will not be subtle enough to parse his actions so that he can be right in principle, but learns what he really needs to do to make it happen, including, at times, doing nothing at all. In other words, there might be a situation where Kira just has to not get involved, but he's a hero, so he has to get involved, and, it's like, oh, wow, big drama,
Well, 2 things about that. One, he can't get involved because we've introduced this concept that Kigali learned from Lacus, which is pick a path and do something. Not doing something is literally antithetical to Lacus's message. And I said, I think it was can't remember if it was last time's notes or last time's post-episode thing, that I appreciated that they had thrown out there that Kira is suggesting he might be wrong. That was the only thing I appreciated from the Kira scenes.
Which is the whole conversation with Raymond. But I think the problem with the whole Lacus thing is that it's poorly worded or translated, because you can make the argument that no action is also taking an action, right? So inaction can lead to as much death and destruction as action, but it's never parsed that way. Simply, oh, you want to do something, just do it. But what if I'm wrong? Doesn't matter. Better do something. Just do it. Just do it.
I think it was what,
Thank you.
REM? No, it's not REM.
Yeah.
If you choose not to decide, you can still have made a choice.
Sounds like a G.I. Joe jingle, but yeah.
No. It's God, they've made so many amazing songs over the years. I cannot remember the name of the band.
Machine?
No, way earlier than that.
REM?
You choose not. I already said REM, and that's wrong too.
Parsons Project? I don't know. That's not a thing. Oh. Partridge Family?
Well, I think a little. I don't know. That's Free Will. Rush. Sorry, it's Rush.
Yeah.
The song is called Free Will. If you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. I'm going to mark that up to my singing just being bad.
Go ahead. That's your next point, then.
Neo getting taken out in Berlin was probably the best thing that could have happened. I mean, Jibril chews him out after every loss to the point that I have to wonder what future could have possibly been in the organization after one more loss. This time, he not only lost a super weapon, but also the remaining 2 extended, and after being let go of his mission to take out the Minerva because Jibril thought it was obviously too much for him. I don't know how much more Jibril was willing to let Neo lose, but this has to be the biggest loss that Neo has ever incurred. So, not being present for Jibril's wrath or payback by being captured might just be the best thing for him.
Maybe. It depends on... Well, I mean, I already said that Phantom Pain was all but gone. And yes, it came back because they had Stella gone back, but this is basically erases Phantom Pain as we know it. They may have some extended somewhere else and build up another unit around the extended.
Well, we already had my previous note about that, about the numbers. Yeah. The numbers that were on the thing and how many that we know existed vis-a-vis the first season were extended, and these are extended. So I think that said there was, 2 more left on scene?
Probably. But I do also have a note about the destroy and all that, but I'll get to it in a moment.
Well, I'm saying my point is that I don't know what Jibril's authority or power is to punish people. So, Neo getting captured probably puts him into a place where he's better off than whatever the fuck Jibril would do. Like, you failed me 4 times now, and you lost the extended.
I do have a theory about Neo, but we have to confirm that he is who we think he is before that theory can be fully deployed.
Well, I think we're both 100% on the same page about who he is.
Yeah.
It's just I'm not changing the board because the show hasn't explicitly said it yet. That's all.
Well, my theory is that he is also part of the program, right? That he got reprogrammed into being Neo, literally Neo, right? From being whoever he was before, because Mula Flaga wasn't a Blue Cosmos, sympathizer, or anyone that would go like, he also defected and joined the 3-ship alliance alongside Mura and everyone else. So Ramus, so it's like, why would he be so for it? In fact, my next note kind of talks about him a little bit, because I said, of course, I was right that Neo had no intention or ability, or it could be both, to keep Stella out of the fight. Like, he makes the promise to Shin, oh yeah, no, I'm definitely gonna keep her out of the fight. And he's like, next thing he does is like, put her back into the pod, get her back into the fight. He's the one who gives her like the instructions, like, if you don't kill everybody we tell you to kill, bad people are gonna kill us. And she's like, oh no, okay, I have to do it, right? So yeah,
I don't know.
He couldn't do it. He had no ability to say no to Jibril. Or he never had the intention to do.
Well, again, I think you're painting him to a box that might not exist. Or it might exist, but you're not painting all the walls of the box. Sorry, sometimes when it comes to metaphor, it's hard to get into the metaphor. I don't remember if I have a note about this, and I'm not going to scroll through, but I know I had thoughts about what you're thinking here. And listening to you describe it, there might be an element of, if she doesn't fight, she's not going to get what she needs to survive. So literally the only way to keep her alive, even if he does care about her, is to put her in a position where she could get hurt. Because otherwise, then she'll just go back to dying the way she was dying before.
I have a note about that later on, but yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, to what you were literally just saying right now about the fact that he's lying or whatever, or had no intention, that's literally just creating two paths where I think, again, I don't remember if I've written a note about this later on, I think he actually does care about her, but there's literally no path where he cannot put her into a suit to fight people in, because if she doesn't fight, it's Dominion. Ketrel Cell White situation. I can't remember what they're called.
They are the Jem'Hadar.
Yeah, the Jem'Hadar, if they don't fight, they don't get the Ketrel Cell White. They don't get the Ketrel Cell White, they fucking die. That is Stella's position, and Neo has no more authority over that than anybody else.
So, to your next point, then.
It's not really a point, it's just an observation of something fucking stupid. The Destroy is an Omni-Enforcer. Yes, that's right. Not Enforcer, Enforcer, because that's what it's written on the screen. With its own stupid acronym. Gigantic, unilateral, numerous, dominating ammunition. A.k.a. the Gundam Fortress. Gundam Fortress. Yep, this thing's also a Gundam mobile armor.
Yeah. Goddamn.
Well, this is the show always has you see it every time they go to launch, an abbreviation for the Gundams and what Gundam means. And this time again, gigantic, unilateral, numerous, dominating ammunition.
Yeah, whatever that's supposed to be.
Figured out we couldn't just throw in a random M word. We'll just use the M from ammunition. Gundam.
Yeah. Now, going back, this is something I was going to say. I'm going to circle back to it. And Chin and Rey. Curious that Chin and Rey were released as the Destroy deployed, but before news of its attacks reached the Minerva. It would make sense to have all hands on deck to stop it, but the order clearly came from Durandal, and he's playing a larger game as shown by him playing with his crystal chess set, and that we also know that he had essentially the plans to destroy, so he knew the Destroy existed.
Well, I mean, there's also a scene where Shin is literally reading a paper, or I guess like futuristic see-through transparent paper thing that literally has the entire readout of what the Destroy is. So it's not like they didn't pass that information down the line, it seems.
But okay, yeah, but that's the thing, is like they didn't have to like, oh yeah, consider your service. I guess it's Durandal saying, I don't have to give you an explanation, you put the boy back into play, basically.
Well, I mean, I literally one of my previous notes was about why Durandal would have done this. Since we've already kind of discussed the Durandal why aspect already.
On to your next note.
They called Stella a biological CPU when the Destroy is launching, which is the same terminology that the 3 original extended from last season got when referring to their relationship to the Gundams. So, continuity of terms.
Yep, I thought that. Big in there.
Yeah, no, just making a note. Making it. If you don't say the obvious stuff out loud, people are going to say it back to you 10 more times.
So my final note on episode, or Phase 31, The Endless Night, is Chin is awfully smug for someone who went AWOL. That surely won't come back to bite him in the ass.
Why not? Kira went super smug after he went and took Lycus back to Atherin, and he's the main character of the show now. So...
Yeah, but I think the problem is I understand, this is what I was saying, I understand his argument, but for someone who turned himself in, is like, he's kind of lording it over Atherin, like, yeah, remember when you slapped me a couple of times? Now, I'm so good, I can be touched, yeah. But the thing is that he gets extremely smug and is like, oh, hey, look at me, I'm so important that I can just steal a Gundam, take a prisoner, deliver it to the enemies. Nothing's going to happen to me. I knew that was going to happen, kind of thing. With that. Yeah, I'm like, you little shit. You deserve a thirst slap.
Again, this is the same shit that Kira does, and now he has a ship and a crew.
Yeah. Well, that's the kind of thing. It's like, I feel that the plot will make Shin, like they did with Kira, sound right. Like, oh, the right thing to do was to return Lacus to the Saf, because, eventually that would work out for them. But it's like, yeah, you didn't know that at the time. And
well, this isn't
and she would save his life later on, too.
This isn't my next note, but it's directly in what you're talking about, so I'll just say this real quick, because it's more of a joke than anything. I'm sorry, I know it's a serious situation, but listening to Shin being a smug prick to Atherin at the end of an episode, I guess there's some people at headquarters that understand my point of view, and Atherin just grunts like he's lurched from the Addams family. This just goes to show that you don't know everything after all. Followed by another Atherin groaning sound. Just the unintelligible grunts of not rising to Shin's bait.
Yeah. Or barely so.
Well, I just thought it was funny because the confrontation where they're just staring each other down and he's saying all this smug prick shit. And all Atherin does is, that's all the noises Atherin makes. He does not answer Shin whatsoever. So it's hilarious to me.
This is your next note now.
You remember those brains in jars lining the control room of the Earth Federation's research facility where the Extended were made? How they were all connected with wires and stuff? We've often commented about the weird things in Durandal's room. I've joked that they looked like the weird sculptures from the Beetlejuice movie. What if those were actually brains with long wires connected to them on the pedestals?
They look like more pieces of technology. They remind me more of something like some 2001 shit. Like it seems like a tablet or something like that. I have to get a closer look.
Again, they look to me from the distance like they could be brains, but they got like this long wires coming out of them. It's like for half a second while I was writing my notes, kind of reminded me of those brains in the jars.
Yeah, but I think people have been to that office and nobody's going like.
Well, would you? Would you though? The dude's in fucking charge of everything. It's like, how much are people actually questioning him?
That would be at least a water cooler situation. Have you been to Durandal's office? He has like this tubes with brains in them. What the fuck's that? I don't know. I'm not gonna ask, dude.
So he's a DNA expert, man.
Yeah, he's the DNA expert. Just shut it.
Maybe that's Einstein's brain. I don't know.
Is that your brain? No, I still have my brain. Shut the fuck up, dude.
I don't know. Next question. Like I said, I throw conspiracy shit at the walls. Maybe it's been in front of our faces the whole time.
Same all along. Episode 32, Stella. The Federation comes as such cartoonish villains in this episode that their only function could be to make whatever Durandal and by extension Zaft does look saintly in comparison. Because these people are just, they're trying to nuke all the plants. They're destroying entire cities. Destroy these 3 cities just because these people wouldn't put up with, Jibril's bullshit. Like, yeah, no, we're just gonna have blow them up. And literally other people in Blue Cosmos go like, logos, like, how many seasons, burn? As many as we have to. Because they're people who do not understand that naturals are better than coordinators. Kill them all. I'm like, well, he doesn't say that exactly, but paraphrase. This is just so dumb.
I'll combine my next thought with this one because they're the same thing. Jibril's methodology about separating coordinators and naturals by killing any natural that associates with a coordinator is very strange. I mean, not so much for the obvious racist overtones, but for the obvious blinders that have to be worn to get around that. He's currently using Orb's military to back up Earth Federation forces, and Orb was a miscegenated country. Granted, the Sirens may have gotten the coordinators themselves out, but you have to do a job of arguing that the influence of coordinators isn't still there. If Jibril's plan is to burn down any location where the people have coordinator sympathies, then Orb still has got to be on the chopping block.
Yeah. And also, there might be children who are both, children from naturals and coordinators, unions, or future coordinators, right?
Maybe adopted. I don't think naturally that can happen vis-a-vis the whole coordinators have a hard time at getting birth at this current stage of things.
No, but if the mother is natural.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The genetic code is such a problem that there might be a natural can't give birth with if half of the genetic code is coming from a coordinator parent. I know what you're trying to say. I'm saying that might not happen.
Yeah, but it's still a possibility. Or at least
that's what I'm saying. We're saying it's still a possibility. It might not be a possibility is what I'm saying. It might not be possible. That's why I said I already said adoption. I already said adoption too.
Yeah. No, people just be married or having friends and stuff like that. Like, being in the same school. Like
that's why I said,
in the same school.
That's why I said sympathies.
Yeah. But I think there might be a couple of kids there. Nature finds a way.
We're not frogs.
Not that far off either. Go ahead.
Wouldn't be a Gundam series without a crying kid looking for their parents in the middle of a ruined city / battlefield. Look, it's that one thing that you hated when I recently watched Armor Cross 7 when we're talking about the manga. and we're going over how much we hate the use of gotta use a sexual assault to prove how evil somebody is. Well, Gundam's playing that fiddle constantly of, well, here's a crying child, just to let you know how bad this is. And it's like, kind of getting inured to the crying child thing. You're like playing your hand too hard.
Yeah, talking about Macross and Gundam, here's my next note. Considering how the two franchises have affected each other, including having producers and animators work on both sides, and now the next Macross series is supposed to be done by Sunrise, so that's the thing. The image of a Zaft soldier comforting a child and trying to shelter her to no avail at 1 minute 25 seconds in the recording looks awfully similar to a scene in Macross episode 27. Ugh. Lovers flow by, loves drifts away. It has two translations. Of a soldier talking to a small child seconds before a centrality beam hits the ground, destroy the city both therein. To the point that literally you hear the roar of the explosion. Well, in Macross, you see the light behind them, like lights falling behind them. He looks back and he grabs a kid, and then an explosion, and they both die. And here he's talking to the kid, and there's some other people, and you hear the sound of the weapon coming in, and he sort of grabs the kid to cover his body.
Actually, he doesn't grab them in this one.
Yeah,
this one I don't remember the Macross one, so I'm taking your word for that one. And this one, it's literally he's just patting her on the head to reassure her, and then whoa, the beam comes in. There's no response time.
I think he does actually.
He does not, because I watched it too just this morning. So I know we always come to this like, I watched it this morning too, and it's like, well, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe it's something we'll never agree on. Something that literally just happened in front of both of our eyes. I saw a UFO. I saw a balloon.
The next point, then.
I feel like this is a sentiment that gets repeated in just about every Gundam, but the ones that I could remember, which for Mercury, victory is never decided by mobile suit performance alone, nor by the skill of the pilot alone. The result itself is the only truth. Gundam 00, I don't care how much better your machine is, today I'm beyond that. Gundam seed, strength is not determined by the performance of the mobile suit. I know there's a fourth one in there that I've seen, but I can't remember which show it was from to even pull it out. But that is
79. Rambo Rao shouts at Amuro, "You rely too much on the power of your Gundam."
Yeah, that might be an example.
Yeah.
But I mean, in these, it's Graham Acre and Gundam 00, I think. Which for Mercury, it's literally everybody in the duel. It's their dueling credo. And Gundam seed is obviously Sting.
So, my next point then. The Zaft military station, which is what it says on the, on the subtitles, looks like the one on Durando's screen in episode 27. The same one projecting something, perhaps a beam of some sort.
I don't know what you're talking about. You said Zaft Station. I don't know what you're referring to.
Okay, when they're switching sides, there's a moment where they show like a giant tube, and it says Zaft military station.
Yeah, we commented on that because I remember pointing out, that looks like a giant beam weapon.
Yeah, and then it reminds me of when Durando was looking over the plans for to destroy. There's in the left side.
Yeah, it looked like a flashlight. Is the comment that we pointed out.
Yeah. So
but I don't know. That stuff comes from the moon, and the moon is currently occupied by the Earth forces, and this thing is floating near the plants.
No, I think no, because there's several points that are pointing to the moon or some other station. That's one. This is like a little corner.
Well, no, they're not pointed to the moon. They're pointed out from the moon.
Yeah,
that's why I made the note when we were watching those. No, the episodes after we had watched those episodes, is that those were possibly the locations of moon bases, because the fact is that they're on the moon. So this thing,
but they're in space. So yeah,
no. The Zaft military base is in space. The other shot you're talking about, just the flashlight shot that we talked about, because that was only present in Durandal's shot, because when it was in Gibril's shot, he's covering that part of the screen, so we didn't see it. I'm referring to the moon shot that you were starting to talk about a minute ago, which has all the beams coming off of it, and I was saying those seem to be emitted from locations on the moon, and that's why I thought possibly it could have been locations of moon bases. because we know that at least we've covered 3 different moon bases. Because I remember real early on when we started watching Destiny, I mentioned the fact that the moon base we saw get destroyed that was housing all the nukes in the first season, or the movie for you, was destroyed, and the moon base that we see in this season is a different moon base on a different location on the moon. So they've just got a bunch of moon bases, apparently.
Okay, to your next point then.
So Kira finds something odd or familiar about Neo's piloting, to the point that for the first time in 2 seasons, he disables someone's mobile suit and tells Ramius to come pick them up. I think that has to be the biggest tell beyond the opening and ending credits anyway, that this is Mulaflaga, despite how little sense his surviving the first season would make. It's one of those special characters get special attention focuses of shows like this.
Even the way he dies here, because he's
not dead.
I mean, get destroyed. The mobile suit crashes, and then there's a scene where you see like the head popping in and. Did you not
think of the same thing I thought of when it happened?
Yeah.
Does it start with a C? That? Is it an impronounceable C thing?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, say it.
Oh, I didn't.
If we're thinking of the same thing, say it.
I think it's the same shot that happened with Mulaflaga when he exploded. The head also.
Oh no, we were not thinking about the same thing at all. Slugger Law, when he crash lands during Doan's Island, the sea name that we've never been able to pronounce, that's why we call it Doan's Island instead of Doan's Island. Yeah, you were like, oh, what the fuck was he here for? Because he crash lands, and the head of his Gundam, or actually just a mobile suit, goes flying off. It's like, so he's not fighting in this fight.
Yeah.
Well, that's what happens to Moose. He crash lands, and you see the head go flying off. It's like, oh, glad we just watched Doan's Island not too long ago.
So my next point then. Neo gaslights Chin into not attacking the destroy, but why doesn't Chin turn around and attack Neo if he knows he didn't keep his promise? And that is why Stella is in this situation.
He's emotionally overwhelmed.
Yeah, true. But it feels like I almost expect like, you lied to me, and at least take a swipe or something. It's like, I
think it's too confusing of a situation. It's like, oh, here's also my target. I'm going to go attack it. And now it's like, don't attack her. It's Stella. And now you're like, well, everyone's getting attacked. You're right here telling me, what the fuck do I do?
Also, it's very interesting because in this show, they deliberately say, if you're not on the same radio frequency, you're not going to hear anybody. But somehow Neo knew the radio frequency to talk to Chin to tell him, oh, hey.
I brought this up before. It's like they hear whatever they want to hear whenever they need to hear it.
Yeah.
It's very weird. Go went all Amuro on Sting. Dude tried to retreat, but Go was just not having it.
Yeah. I mean, sure. He just did. He was like, no, I'm going to win this fight. I'm not Kira. I don't disarm people. I killed them. And he killed them.
As we said, you're not getting away. It very much reminded me of early Amuro in those, when Garma was still alive, fights.
Yeah. And my final note. And I know you're probably not going to agree with this one, but I'm going to put it out there anyway. I know we discussed the possibility of pulling Stella out of the cockpit before destroying the destroy. But considering that A, it was about to fire again and kill even more people, the city, which already was heavily damaged, and there was no way to stabilize Stella if she was not treated on the regen memory altering pods, she clearly was doomed either way. I wish there was another way, but Kira was not wrong in what he did, destroy. I can only see this as a way to pin Chin against Kira, just as Arthur and Kira fought in the first season.
Okay, so I do disagree with you, obviously. One, the destroy is not itself alone. It's got a support mechanism behind it. We saw that when it originally launched. And that's also the location where they brought Stella to be healed and where the pods are. So just capture that after you're done with the destroy. The fact...
No. They didn't bring the tank with them. They left it behind. They just...
Also...
You don't see it behind them.
No.
And they don't know where the pods are. They don't know that. They don't know where the pods are.
I know. Sure. I mean, sure. But also, just follow the track back. Like, this thing is a walking path of destruction. Find out where it came from, because it's obviously going to be a base of some sort. So, investigation is part of this thing, I have to imagine. I have to think that it is possible for them to find it. I don't think it's impossible for them to find it, which, makes a possibility. I disagree that you couldn't get Stella out of the destroy without killing her. There's a giant slash there, literally. Sorry, I'm going to have to take my hand off the push-to-talk to do this. Rip it open. And because it constantly gets hit so often, that in fact, when we see Stella for her final time in there, you can see the ground behind her, because the cockpit's been blown so wide open. And who would do that? I don't know. Shin seems vested in this. Seems like he might have done that. If it wasn't for the fact that he was fighting with Kira a little bit.
But the thing is, the way they show it is, Finn is talking to Stella, and then the Freedom pops in, and she freaks out because she's the Freedom.
Yeah, no, she's powering up to attack. I'm not arguing the fact that she was about to attack. Not arguing that. I also said this in the last notes, or maybe it was the post episode.
Yeah.
I don't care about the casualties. Look,
that's the whole point of the episode, that they wanted to prevent more casualties.
Yeah, but we've also basically seen all of Berlin is destroyed. Essentially, it's like, at what point now do I have to care about the 10% who are still alive in the city versus a character that the show is trying to make me care about? If at this point, those people in Berlin that are still alive are a statistic. It's too much to actively care about for me, and all I can do is focus on the person who's literally being shown face to screen crying, who I know is not here of their own free will. I don't know. Literally, they talked about that in Dark Knight, right? So it's I
think the only person who could have done it would have been Chin, but Chin wasn't.
He was right there. Yeah, no, it's the same thing that you were saying about why didn't he fight Neo when Neo was telling him. It's because he's emotionally screwed up. He can't focus right now. There's too much shit happening. So yeah, he didn't because he was unable. But not being able is not the same as it being impossible to happen. That cockpit just kept getting hit over and over again. So rip it open. I mean, you could make an argument that Stella, if she wasn't freaking out and going crazy because of what Neo fucking said, could have probably saved herself.
Yeah.
Could have done a romperol.
But she wasn't. Well, she was always the most unstable of the three, so. But those are my notes.
I only have two more. Even though we saw Stella getting out of the pods along with Sting, I guess the takeaway is that Neo didn't wipe her memory this one last time. Unlike the handkerchief, she remembered the seashell enough to make a necklace out of it, and didn't have to be jarred into remembering Shin as hard as the last times. The oddity of Neo doing his damnedest to protect her, while at the same time putting her in danger to begin with, whatever state of mind he was in here at the end, I could potentially see him letting her keep that much freedom for some self-perceived reason.
I mean, but the whole problem was that the destroy mission wasn't a one-way mission, right?
One way.
It was because it was a slow-looking nuke. The enemy would try to find a way to destroy it because they had to. They couldn't just allow more cities to be destroyed. So, even if it took all they had, which is something I should have pointed out. I mean, how heavy were the casualties that the zaft took?
Well, we saw all of Zaft's forces in the area get destroyed by this thing, and then they try to radio zaft command in the area, and it's not there. So, they've thrown everything in the area at it, and they're pulling in outside forces like the Minerva, which wasn't on site, had to be brought in. And then they thought the Minerva didn't have a chance.
Yeah, but I think it would have been destroyed, not in this battle and another battle, because it's...
Well, yeah, that's every military weapon. It's
I know, but the thing is that by putting Stella there, if Stella there, because she's probably the only one who could pilot it, she's going to die,
Again, you're
severely injured.
I think your implication is not false. I just think it comes from a bad premise that any weapon you're putting a person into to die because the weapon will eventually fail.
Not this particular weapon. It's not like
that's what I'm saying though. It's because you're saying the destroy is only going to march forward and eventually be destroyed. So obviously they put her in there to die, and it's well, we don't know. Literally, it could take pauses, and then they could switch pilots. We don't know what their plan is. It only got 3 cities in.
I mean, that takes a lot of time, I think, to destroy entire 3 cities, considering that we don't see the destroy
Apparently
fly
not.
very fast.
Apparently not. Apparently, between walking off real slow, it did like a splash thing to the first city, then the next, and then boom, it was in Berlin. Like, it didn't seem like any time had passed. We didn't get like any flashes of anything. Nothing was told to us. That's why I was like, well, maybe there's 3 of them, because it seemed so inconceivably fast. How fast 3 cities...
I didn't make a note of it, but yeah, because it's like, this doesn't make a lot of sense.
Alright, well, my final note. At this point, I don't care who is right or wrong anymore. I don't care if Shin's been a snob or a dick. I want to see people pay for making this kid have to go through this shit again and again. Emotionally, I'm on Shin's side for the time being. Now, he could wildly over-adjust and do something stupid or instantly make me want to retract that statement, but at the same time, I'm giving him the grace of understanding.
I think they're setting him up for failure. Well, he already has failed because he attempted to protect Stella and failed in doing that.
Well, they're making him like the unhinged version of Kira. And it's like, sure, maybe, but he's acting with like emotionality that I understand versus Kira got kicked in the nuts. Alright, well, we got comments. First off, we got David Butt from the Patreon from the episode Stella. Obviously, since I've seen the reaction, I know you disagree, but I think these past 3 episodes are actually the first half of the strongest series of episodes in the entirety of Destiny. I like that the series is showing Stella's tragic circumstance, and having Shin put in a really difficult situation where he doesn't have any good options. He could either do nothing and Stella dies, or he can bring her back to the Earth forces and she might live. However, the option he does take ends up being the worst possible decision in the long run, because while you can understand why he makes the decision to try and save Stella, not only does it not work, but it leads to Berlin being completely destroyed. I personally don't blame Kira here, even though it is his fault that Stella dies. First off, it's the first time I'm actually on his side in the show with him intervening. He's not wading into a random conflict. He's trying to stop the Earth forces from committing genocide. He's saving lots of lives and also saves Shin's life by killing Stella. She was about to fire and Shin was directly in front of her, so he would have died if not for Kira. Of course, without Kira floating into Stella's eyesight, he wouldn't have needed to save Shin because she was about to stand down. But he did just save his life. Then it goes in a really interesting direction with Shin and his revenge plot. One clarification. You were wondering if their communications were linked after Neo told Shin that Stella was in the mobile armor, but their communication systems are not tied in together. I don't think this is ever directly explained in any of the shows, but when 2 mobile suits are in direct contact with each other, the pilots can communicate with each other. And this, I think, is constant across every single show/movie in the franchise. Also, the song you hear at the end, and in a bunch of other episodes, is sung by Stella's voice actor.
I mean, it's a whole spacesuit touching another spacesuit kind of thing, and you can hear someone else. Yeah.
Actually, the only thing that comes to my mind, now that you bring that up, you remember... Oh, God. I think this still happens in the movie. Kigali, when she is driving underneath Kira's Gundam, when they first get to Earth in the desert, and she fires the thing up, and it hooks into the Gundam, and then she's able to communicate with him. Mm-hmm. Like, there must be some sort of, tactile surface connection radio.
Yeah, so...
I mean, again, that's what she did there, and it seems like that's the implication here, is that if you just touch suits together, it's like, sorry, I don't have a phone, so I don't have any interaction ability to describe anything phone-related, but I do know those things where, like in commercials, people with phones would, do this, and the 2 phones would get next to each other, and they would pass the information.
Yeah, Bluetooth.
Is that just Bluetooth technology? I don't know what it is, but when they visualize it, it's always like the Tony Stark thing where he just throws a hologram from one screen to another.
Yeah, no, that's Bluetooth. or Wi-Fi, something like that. It's not like you just literally just. I guess you could make it that the Bluetooth activates when you touch it to cell phones, but yeah, they do that in a lot of animes. Where like, oh, I want your deets, and you're like, okay, here you go. It's just Bluetooth.
Well, I mean, anything else about the comment?
Not really. I mean, that's kind of like what I said. I agree mostly with what Kira had to do, and he did save Chin's life. But I also said that the reason why Stella went into fugue mode, like, I'm going to kill everybody, I can't stand anymore, is because she saw the freedom and was like, oh, an enemy. I want to live. I want to kill him. So
I would also argue that if Shin was to try and save Stella, he wouldn't have been in the line of danger. Because he would have been at where the cockpit is, and I said if he was trying to rip it open, the things that were firing out were one from the fingers, which are already extended away from the base of the thing.
No,
but also the
chest.
No, you didn't let me finish.
Oh, sorry.
I was trying to indicate everything that was not going to attack him. Yeah, there was also the chest thing, which is above the cockpit. So maybe at worst, the head of his Gundam gets blown away, which doesn't really matter because one, he's not in the head, as we covered many times, unless you're Char at the end of Gundam 79. And two, literally, his Gundam is made to be replaced. He is like Tony Stark's shit in one of the second Avengers movie, where he just calls in the satellite and it replaces parts every time it gets destroyed. So I don't think Shin was actually in danger. Shin is the danger. Alright, next up we got Fenrir756 from Patreon, the episode Stella. Comments for this episode. I believe you figured this out about by the end, but only one destroy Gundam was deployed, and it essentially was constantly advancing and destroying cities and zaft forces until Kira engaged it in the Freedom.
Yeah, I mean, we know it's an experimental unit because it has the X on it, so yeah.
The opening Shin created in the destroyer was not the same size as a mobile suit's fist, and trying to cut her out of the destroyer would probably freak Stella out and result in however tried it being shot by its finger lasers. Just reading. So I don't think that was a very realistic option for Kira. Well, for one thing, I don't think Kira would have done it. Kira would have just tried to kill her, because that's what he did. Also, I think you're wrong. Sorry, smug at it. I'm becoming Shin. I think you're wrong because of, I don't know, this feels like a death battle sort of thing, right? Where we pan to the destroy and then we do a little dot 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 and measure the hole and then do another remeasure when it's like a mobile suit's up right next to it so that we can then compare the distance comparisons. Mm-hmm. I think it was a pretty big hole. I don't know. My perspective is it's not unrealistic. But also, there's also an element of throwing out the word realism in Gundam. I know it's more realistic than Super Robot, but it's still... Come on, what are we doing?
No, I think it was a matter of time. They just didn't have enough time to do it, so yeah, it didn't happen.
Well, you and me already disagree, so decide with the other people that are disagreeing with me. I think this was missed, but if Kira did not stop the destroy from firing, Stella would have killed Shin. The impulse was flying directly in front of the 3 positron cannons on his chest, and Kira destroyed those to stop Stella and save Shin. I've already argued that if he had been trying to rip her open, then it would have, at worst, shot his head off. The head of his Gundam, not the head of Shin. I don't blame Shin for wanting to save Stella, and there was no saving her after. So look, you guys are reading this as it scrolls up and down on the comment thing, so don't blame me. After Stella was triggered by the explosion in her cockpit, then seeing the Freedom, Stella had no desire to hurt Shin, but in her panic she would have killed Shin and likely killed more people if Kira didn't intervene. Even if Shin had managed to safely remove her from the destroy, Stella is dead anyways without receiving the regular drug and pod treatments, and it's not like Zaft would be willing to just let her go free, even to keep Shin happy.
Yeah, we talked about that.
I mean, something we didn't discuss is also the element that Neo is now in custody, and if there's any knowledge that he would have to be able to help her out, that would also be available.
Well, she is in custody of the Archangel, not the Minerva.
Would be a great opportunity for Shin to be motivated to talk to the Archangel crew. Literally, it only helps.
Yeah, but they would have to know that he is in the Archangel to begin with. So
well,
unless
again, they
RPG gets
landed
it
on the
down-
ground. It's like the last shot of the thing where you see Ramius and a bunch of the crew standing over his body. So they landed. So if the impulse is even in the air, just.
Well, I mean, it's a big city. It doesn't happen to be in the right place. They will not see it. What's happening?
Well, I mean, it'll happen
see
in
the
a little
arcade.
area.
Yeah. Also, he was also mourning Stella's death, so
Yeah.
it only works if he actually saved Stella.
No, wait. You think you failed to remember the whole conceit is that if he had saved Stella, so Stella being dead isn't in this.
Although I think Stella would also freak out if he sees Neo on the ground. Actually, she did freak out when Neo got shot down, so that was part of her freak out. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, we're doing the rewrite thing, but I'm just saying it just could have happened.
Coulda, woulda, shoulda, did.
Another piece of evidence that I think supports the argument I've been making regarding Athrun being weaker than before, Athrun has been shown to be unable to damage the Chaos in any way since he got into the Savior. But in this episode, Sting was beaten by 3 random pilots in Murasume's. Sting is not that special of a pilot, and Athrun could not do anything to him anytime he fought him one-on-one ever since rejoining Zaft.
I think it's more of a point of a plot point, right? We needed to get rid of this guy, and it was 3 against 1. Where in the past, the 3 Gundams have been able to cooperate more effectively. So now that Phantom Pain has only 1 character, basically, he got outmatched.
Well, Phantom Pain has no characters actually now, but
yeah,
I don't know. For my money, I have no. This is just a thing that Fenrir keeps pushing. We've never really commented on it, even though they bring it up like every comment. Hey, you guys notice Athrun's getting a lot weaker? It's like, I guess that's like your opinion, man.
Not getting laid, I guess, is what's weakening.
I don't even agree that he's weaker. It's like you keep pushing evidence for a trial that's not happening. It's like, we're here to examine the evidence of who's stronger in a fight, and it's like, all right, keep trucking, man. I don't know what to say here. I guess until it happens down the road that somebody gets into a fight with Athrun, and I'm like, bullshit, that shouldn't have happened. And then Fenrir's like, you haven't been reading my comments. With respect to the impossibility of Mu potentially surviving what happened to him in Seed, in the original SD version of Gundam Seed, there was a clip of Mu's helmet floating in space with the glass visor completely shattered after the strike was destroyed, saving the Archangel. But this shot was removed from the HD remaster and was not in the movies either.
The only thing I said was that...
I'll point out that we also, when we watched the first season, watched the HD remaster, so basically you and me saw the same thing, which is to say we didn't see that thing.
I talked about pieces of his mech being some kind of crash into some asteroid, and I think I saw some kind of silhouette.
Well, you were talking about a lunar crater.
Yeah, so that was it, but that was the only indication that something survived, other than the head also flying off, the mech's head flying off. But if he has a shattered helmet in space, in the vacuum of space, that's even worse.
No, it's worse. He doesn't have the shattered helmet. The shattered helmet's floating along without him. But that's only in the SD version, that's what they're saying, that they changed it in the HD remaster, which means, I guess, that the intention was that he actually did die. And then they said, we could do something about this in the next season. But I don't know, I see that as more proof of that it was impossible for him to have survived. That literally they had to rewrite to make him survive.
Somehow.
Or reanimate, I guess. Shin wanting revenge on the Freedom for killing Stella makes sense, but it is unclear if it was the Freedom or the Calamity's beam which killed Shin's family, as both suits were shown firing simultaneously when the explosion occurred.
Which is what I said, but you...
I in fact disagree so much that I pre-read this and have a theta response already written. I'm just waiting for you to get your kicks in while the kicking's good.
No, go ahead.
As I stated many times now, my evidence for blaming Kira is the direction of the blast, the timing in which the Freedom fires. The Freedom flies into frame and shoots in the direction of where the explosion comes from. The show doesn't focus on any other mobile suits in that moment, so the camera's focus is also a contributing factor. In my mind, that is enough evidence to level accusations on Kira and the Freedom.
I disagree.
I mean, sure, go ahead. At the same time, until we're done with Gundam Seed Destiny, literally doesn't matter. Until the show says something, and only one of us here has future knowledge of what happens, and that's Fenrir, who's already been shown to spoil the things, but I'm just saying, that's my opinion, and you know how unshakable my opinion can be. I think it would be perfectly in character for Shin to seek revenge for Stella's death. I do not believe it is justified in any way, and that Shin is wrong for seeking it. Shin's distorted worldview was pretty clear in this episode, as he was condemning what the destroyer was doing this episode, and was fine killing the pilot until he realized it was Stella. But at least so far, there has been no recognition of the fact that Stella has killed hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people, ever since she got into the destroy, and that she needed to be stopped, even if the only way to accomplish that was killing her.
I mean, I've said it before, I agree that she needed to be stopped, but, you know.
I mean, it's a trolley problem. The basis of the trolley problem is, okay, I got two people on track, right, but one of them's your friend. You know? Now it's three people you don't know and your friend. You know, it's a trolley problem. You realize what needs to be done, but now it's more difficult because it's someone you know. Now it's more difficult, someone you know and care about. You know, it just keeps worse and worse.
I remember that guy from high school.
Have you been watching the Beast games?
Beast games? No.
Mr. Beast's game show on Amazon.
No. I don't follow anything from that guy.
Well, I don't have a problem. Yeah, last episode was literally a trolley problem. Except that they started with 2,000 people. Well, 2,000 people on the YouTube, then it goes to 1,000 people when they bring it from YouTube to Amazon. And now they're down to, like, I think it was 20, and they were getting it down to 10. So it's all the people you've, like, made friends with and everything along the way, but you're also doing, like, the political thing. So, and it's like, okay, pick who's going to be on there, and then you're there, and some of them, an initial, were like, okay, Lamborghini or these three people. And you pick the three people that you don't like the most. But then it comes down to, here's a person, pick, I can't remember what it is, just pick like these two people, and one of them is a guy who gave up a chance to take $1 million already. So people have enjoyed him for a long time, but it turns out he's been playing like the politics game. So he gets picked as one of them, and she doesn't like him already. So he pulls out her best friend from the group, and then when he loses, he has to stand there and take it, as they're like, "Why'd you pick her, man? That was evil of you." All this shit. It's just the trolley problem. Getting back to that. Well, it's, you know, the most recent example of trolley problem in the most direct way that I think the most people have probably seen. All right, well, our next comment from David Butt from the Patreon from the episode The Endless Night. Since you were talking about the popularity of Gundam in Japan via the comment responses, Seed Destiny isn't quite as popular there as some people would have you believe. In 2018, the NHK, which is the national network in Japan, did a poll for most popular Gundam series, and Gundam Seed was number 3 on the list. But Destiny was in 14th place. Don't get me wrong, 14 out of the 40 isn't bad. I'd consider that to still be fairly popular, but since it is 11 spots lower than Seed, even in Japan they dislike Destiny considerably less than the original. Sorry, they like Destiny considerably less than the original. Sorry, I misread it and then I had to backtrack. It's like, this doesn't feel right. Of course, this poll is around 8 to 9 years old at this point, but still. Also, according to the poll, 44% of votes for Seed were from women, which makes it the third most popular Gundam series among women, behind Iron-Blooded Orphans for some reason, and Gundam Wing, which is obvious given the character designs.
I mean, it makes sense. There's a lot of romance here, and heartbreak.
Also 8 to 9 years old, which means Witch from Mercury wouldn't have been out yet. Well, I mean, I would assume Witch from Mercury would be number 1 in the women whole.
Oh, yeah. I got what you said. Yeah. All right.
Well, I don't know. It just feels like one of those weird things that I have to like super try to explain myself about. But also for me, which Mercury is also my number one total. So
No. It's. I think you wanted to say as a whole, right?
well, what did I say?
In the whole.
Did I? I've had this
That's what it
conversation
sounded to
before
me.
where
It just
sometimes
sounded
I
to me,
say,
so.
well, here's the thing. I don't know how many times this happens, but like whenever I do my solo reactions
Mhm.
and I say welcome back to another Stoneface reactions, and then I go back to edit and it says it sounds like I say welcome to the Stoneface reactions. Somehow another turns into the, and I swear to God, I say another every goddamn time. It's like in my head, but when I go to edit, it's welcome to the Stoneface reactions. That's not the name of the channel. We're not the. It's not like the Batman. You know, we are Batman. We are not the Batman. This isn't welcome to the Stoneface reactions. It's welcome to another Stoneface reactions.
It could certainly be that I misunderstood, and that's why I found it a little.
No. That's what I'm saying is that obviously I hear myself doing it constantly when I'm editing video. So
yeah,
apparently, maybe I'm becoming verbally dyslexic. I don't know what the explanation would be. That I hear myself saying one thing and I'm actually saying another thing. That is kind of frightening.
Yeah.
That there's some sort of separation between my mind and reality. Well, that already existed, but I mean in a way that other people can see.
I was already crazy, but not that crazy. Okay.
I was crazy in a way other people couldn't figure out.
Yeah.
All right. And I think final comment here. Again, Fenrir756 from the Patreon from the episode Endless Night. Here are my comments for this episode. I don't remember if this was discussed or clarified between the two of you later in this episode or in episode 32, but the Naturals do not have as much experience with genetic research as the Coordinators, but are more experienced with experimenting on humans using drugs, which is the main thing that has been done to the Extended.
Yeah, I pointed out to that, and you said that didn't make any sense to you for some reason.
No? Here's the problem: is what they're saying is what I remember arguing to you. Is that okay? No, wait, no. Maybe you're right. Okay, no, because I think there's a duality in this comment that maybe you're picking up on the part that you were right on, and I'm picking up on the part that I was right on, which is to say that Coordinators are more experienced dealing with their own genetic material, so they have more knowledge about that. And this is saying that Naturals don't have as much experience in genetic research as Coordinators, but they are more experienced in doing the thing that they're doing with the Extended, which is maybe what you were talking about before. So we're both right, and we're both addressing two different points.
I think so, because that's what the doctor says. Like, the court say, Naturals have more experience with this, and I was like, okay. And I think that's where the whole comment comes from. Why they couldn't help Stella, because they didn't have the knowledge base for it.
With regards to whether the orb survivors could easily seize control of the Archangel from a bunch of teenagers, remember there is more crew on the ship than the bridge crew, and that most of these teenagers served on the Archangel during the last war, so that description is a bit too reductive.
I mean, they may not be able to keep control of the Archangel, but when you have like a 10-to-1 ratio, it's it's still a possibility.
Well, one, they could have just taken the bridge, which would then maybe lock down the rest of the ship. Two, it's not reductive. They are teenagers. This isn't like White Base in Gundam 79, where we saw them get into hand-to-hand and gunfights on the ship. I can't remember any time the Archangel has been boarded and that these teenagers had to fight hand-to-hand with trained military personnel. Especially not grown-ass adults.
Yeah.
Also, being reductive is what we do here. Blue Cosmos created the Extended to be slave weapons who cannot survive without receiving regular treatment, and I believe creating them was as much meant to create soldiers able to surpass the fighting abilities of the average Coordinator, but also a callback to how Coordinators were originally exploited by Earth before rebelling, and the Extended were created in such a way that they could not successfully rebel and survive.
Yep, we covered that. In fact, that was based on Arthur's comment. Well, Arthur's and chins. This is like, oh, what what are they doing? It blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, they're creating a new slave race because the whole point of the coordinators, the whole point of the Blue Cosmos hate is it's basically destroy what you cannot control. Right? They created a slave race. The slaves rebelled. We're scared of because part of the issue with slavery it's fear. Fear ties the slave to the slaver, right? In a way of the slave is afraid of the punishment that the slaver will, their masters will inflict on them somehow, physical, emotional, etc. But the master always has to have in the back of the head that their slaves will revolt because nobody wants to be a slave, or very few people want to be slaves, the exception to the rule, right? And so that's what happened. The coordinators are like, actually better physically. We don't have to follow your orders. F you, we're out of here. And people in Blood Cosmos go like, oh, we lost our slaves. Okay, next time we create another batch of slaves, because we really are into making slaves, make them so that, they won't be able to rebel. But we also discussed the fact that the logistics of it was very tricky because they're basically short-term weapon systems. Like you spend so much resources and you get like a handful of these guys. And the long term, they're not very viable, except for a specific strike team like Phantom Pain. And even then, they got destroyed. So,
I would argue at the point about them not being able to successfully rebel and survive. Literally, that age-old adage, seize the means of production. If you could get your hands on the drugs and the pods.
But do you have the knowledge to replicate the pods and the drugs?
You don't have to replicate them. First, you have to seize them. Assumingly, they're being made somewhere, which means there's plans. But also, you would want to take hostage the people that control them so that they could tell you how to do it. And I'm sure at, knife point, a lot of shit's going to come flowing out of their mouths. People get a little bit more talky when you get a knife to their testicles.
Yeah. They did try to rebel.
I'm just remembering that was that Eddie Murphy spy movie. But, chop his dick off. I'm like, whoa, man, don't go right to the dick. Break some fingers first. Do something else. I don't remember what this specific note I jotted down was in response to, but I think it dealt with something said criticizing Kira's intervention in the Orb/Minerva battle. I think it's important to note that if Kira had not intervened, then Minerva would have been sunk by that Murasame.
In the second battle.
I'm assuming it's one of those where the thing flies down in front of their bridge and they shoot its gun out or something.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I don't know how Murasame was going to take out the Minerva. So it's obviously something we've written off and forgotten.
Yeah. One of them actually did ram the Minerva and help bring it down, but...
Well, bring it down in the sense that it was not stopped throughout the rest of the season. Again, when Baba rammed the Minerva, Baba's really the one who paid. The Minerva kept on going.
Well, it crashed into the sea, but it didn't get sunk, so,
Yeah, and then went to another base and got some repairs or whatever, Was not significantly hampered. If this was, I can't remember Ryan George's notes where he talks about shows. It was barely an inconvenience.
To be fair, Kira does more damage to Minerva because they still haven't had the Psycho Cannon. Psycho Cannon? Tannhauser Cannon, thinking about.
No, I think you're still wrong. I think it's Longenhound Cannon. No, the Tannhauser Cannon is the one...
in the Minerva. The nose cannon. Yeah.
No, I think you're talking about the It's Longenheim. So it's a weird name. The problem is that we're talking about one is the thing that, how to say white base. One is the thing the Archangel has, which is the two giant ones on its legs. And the other one is the one Minerva has, which is just the giant one on the thing. And I guess now that I can see the reflection of your glasses, I have to buy time for you to look this up, which is inconvenient for me because either you're going to prove me right or you're going to prove me wrong. And now I'm buying you time to do one or the other. Very specifically, though, it's the same gun that was used in the emplacement where they had to go save those civilians in the canyon or the city at the end of the canyon. I see you've closed a window because your glasses aren't reflecting bright white light anymore, but I don't know if you found it yet, and I really don't know where to stop.
The QCX-1 Tannhauser Positron Blaster Cannon. The most powerful weapon on the ship is a single QCX-1 Tannhauser Positron Cannon, which makes the Minerva the first SAF ship to be equipped with a Positron Cannon. Mounted on the front, The townhouser is sitting underneath the shutter and only exposed when activated, which I made an entire note when we saw that episode about the meaning of the townhouser canon thing, which links it to a movie. But also there's an opera as well. That's neither here nor there. So yeah, that's a big nose gun. I think the Archangel has 2 of them, and the Minerva only has the 1, or had, because Kira took it out. So there's that.
Here's the
Now
problem. What did you say it was called?
The Townhouser cannon. The
No.
QCX.
Keep going.
QCX-1.
No, keep going. There was more to it.
79, I think.
No, not the name of it. Just give me the type of weapon.
Positron blaster cannon.
Longhengrin is also a positron blaster cannon. So these are both positron blaster cannons.
Yeah, but it's not on the Minerva. The Minerva has the townhouse.
I know. I'm not saying that. I'm talking about the confusion involved here. I said that one was on the Minerva and one was on the Archangel.
Yeah.
Oh, there's this. God damn it. Those aren't the names of the weapon systems. Those are just the name of the guns. They're naming their guns. They're both the same weapon. These guns are usually given names, with the Earth Alliance and Orb calling their cannons Lohengrin, with the Minerva's gun is named Tannhauser. It's the same weapon. We're arguing about artillery, and they're like, no, it's called Big Bertha. And you're like, no, it's called whatever the other fucking largest artillery cannon was. It's like, they're all artillery cannons. We're not even arguing about anything that makes any difference. They're all positron blaster cannons.
What I wanted to say was that Kira did more damage to the Minerva then by taking the gun out, and they haven't been able to repair that compared to any other damage they suffered, which they're able to repair.
I would argue that happens before the Marsume would have taken him out too.
Yeah.
I think there's some confusion about where and when Kira started receiving the coordinator treatment. Kira did not start receiving the treatment until he was put into the artificial womb, so Kigali would not have been exposed to whatever procedure Kira received to become the ultimate coordinator.
Okay.
I don't think there was any confusion. I think the confusion is where Kigali gets her seed thing from. I was going to do a breakdown of Rao's philosophy, but I don't have the time to do a thorough breakdown. Sorry, there was an element where they were commenting on the video that I put up, then also how they had a car breakdown thing, so I didn't include that. So when they say, I forgot why I wrote this, they're dealing with their own shit. To summarize briefly, Rao does not envy the rest of humanity being able to live longer than him, but he does not believe they deserve to continue living because he has concluded that humanity is fundamentally incapable of changing its true nature, and its never-ending pursuit of progress only makes the world worse by birthing more hatred, envy, and condescension. As a result, he has concluded that humanity will ultimately destroy itself regardless of anything he does, but he decided to take it upon himself to try and force that ending to occur now, rather than at some point in the future. Rao explains his worldview pretty well in episodes 43, 48, and 49, when talking with Mu and or Kira in those episodes, and I don't think it's fair to characterize his declarations as language that ultimately doesn't mean anything.
The reason why I think it doesn't mean anything is because it's justification for, the extermination of the human race. And no matter how pretty you put it, it's like, well, I believe you're going to kill yourselves eventually, so I'm the one who's going to do it. It's like, you're still going to do it. And there's no reason for you. We survived this long. Statistically speaking, we should already be dead anyway. So you're wrong, dude. We just proving you wrong by statistics, right? So,
Yeah, I guess also the word ultimately doesn't mean anything. At the end of the day, he's dead, so it doesn't mean anything.
Mm-hmm.
What do the words of a person who's dead mean? To the grave?
And Kira proved him out by killing him and then Athrun and Kigali stopped the very thing that he wanted to, because it sort of becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's like, oh, everybody's going to die. How do you know that? Because I'm going to kill them.
Well, again, though, it's it's the different characterizations of ultimately meaning nothing. You're using it in what did ultimately all of his words mean put together, and why they didn't mean anything after his death. And my argument was that he's using a lot of hyperbole and flowery language to basically he was writing a thesis and wasn't meeting the word count, and he really needed to up that word count. So that's why it ultimately doesn't mean anything. It's like, if I could read the summary and it makes more sense than your thesis, then
Yeah.
The problem is with you. With respect to my comment about the orb life pods, that was directly in response to several statements Theta made where he kept talking about how it did not make any sense that how the orb soldiers could make it to the Archangel. There are episode counters here and timestamps that you can read as it flows by here. I'm not going to read them specifically. Also, I'll say this, your timestamps don't make a lot of sense, Fenrir, because it's not to the episode that you're posting this in, so I don't know. I had difficulty because I went to the timestamps, like, what did I say? And it's like, I don't say the thing you're quoting me as saying, so it's obviously not from this video. Either way, most of comments that are very simple statements of fact about things that happen in the show are in response to statements like this, which indicate the speaker did not notice things happening in the episode. The comment about the lifeboats was meant to show that they didn't stay on the sinking aircraft carrier until the Archangel picked them up, but that they probably got to the Archangel with the lifeboats, and my impression was Theta had missed the fact that they're even in the lifeboats and was confused about how they got off the ship.
No. I think the confusion was, they got off the carrier. We know that part. It's how
Apparently,
then they got into the underwater ship that picked them up, because we never actually see them pick them up or even call them. It's like, oh, by the way, call the Archangel to pick you up. It's like there was an order given, but nobody like grab a radio like, hello, we're dying here, and why would the Archangel do that in the middle of a battle as well, right? I mean, they would because Kigali wants to save everybody, but then why not also pick up like, Air Force survivors, because they also were part of the battle, right?
Since you're making that argument, I guess maybe I should read the quotes.
Yeah.
Pretty sure we saw Amagi on the Archangel. Not sure how the fuck he gets there, though. They just fucking get there. I don't know how they're going to get there. How did they get there? It's really hard to read myself back. Did they stay on the ship until it sunk, so they picked them up at the bottom of the sea again?
We can chuck that one as sarcasm.
Yeah, I thought that was... Here's the thing. I already wrote a response to this, and I was so incensed that my sarcasm was being written as, this guy just doesn't fucking understand anything. Let me just read this. I never questioned how they got off the sinking ship. I made comments about how they got aboard the Archangel, and if the Archangel just hung around the battlefield after the fight, as it hadn't been shown to do that the last couple of fights. Also, something lost when you quote me is flippancy and jokes. I think any rational person would think that I wasn't actually asking if they stayed on the boat until it sank to the bottom of the sea so that the Archangel could pick them up. I've made repeated wisecracks about the fact that the Archangel is constantly shown sitting on the bottom of the sea instead of heading to Orb or anything. That is obviously just another crack in that line.
Yeah, so our theory was not that they held their breath until they hit the bottom and then got picked up by super scuba crew from the Archangel, or they too held their breath, no matter how deep this part of the ocean is. So yeah, no, it was
again, it was the unseen commentary, or the commentary about the unseen moment where the Archangel shows up and picks up all these people in the life rafts. It's like, when, why, how did they even signal them that, hey, we're not just some random enemy combatants, we want you to pick us up? There's so much. Yeah.
Well, there's a Minerva also there as well. They could capture us and take us prisoner, right?
Yeah, there's so much in question that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Did not think they all drowned and came back to life aboard the Archangel.
Yeah. Or we suggested that even though we did point at the ruins at the bottom of the sea, we did not suggest that the Atlanteans showed up in this battle. And we're like, okay, everybody, go on, get in the back of the seahorse and...
Although I guess this does answer a number of questions why so many people have a problem with me, is they read my flippancy and sarcasm as 100% what I think. And it's literally the first thing I do is go to my sarcasm place. So my argument that Atherin has been shown to be weaker than Shin, again, this fight that we're not having, was not because he was disabling mobile suits while Shin was killing them, but Atherin has been shown to be much slower at disabling mobile suits than Shin, as at been defeating them, and he should not be struggling this much, even if his mobile suit is not as effective as the Justice was.
Okay, so he's struggling. I mean, the problem is that you have Kira being like, I show up, I do the beam thing, like 12, 12 enemy mobile suits lose their arms, legs, and heads, and they're completely disabled. Compared to that, I think anyone else would look pretty weak, right? It's like,
well, I know I covered this in the notes section about the whole quote about whose mobile suit doesn't matter. It's like skill and everything like this.
yeah.
Yeah, it does actually fucking matter, though, because if there's no difference between mobile suits, why are we even designing different varieties for different reasons, right? Like, one has to be more maneuverable if it's designed to be more maneuverable. One has to have thicker armor if it's designed to be taking more blasts. Literally, the power of your mobile suit has to have a factor in how you're using it.
I mean, the destroyed 3 cities and 3 garrisons full of staff troops, at least dozens of mobile suits, just literally standing there.
Yeah, I'm just saying that if
it makes a difference.
If you apply that argument to the Destroy, then the Destroy should be able to fly just as fast as the Freedom, and do everything the Freedom does, because apparently the build of your mobile suit has nothing to do. It's all skill.
I think what it matters is if you, because this is so, it's not the machine, it's the pilot, not the machine. What that's supposed to mean essentially is it's like the statement, I don't know nothing at all, is that a good pilot will get the best out of his machine, while a bad pilot, no matter how good the machine is, he's always going to be a bad pilot no matter what. That's the difference between you're a good pilot, but you can't do anything in this machine because good pilot would get the best out of it and might be competitive versus somebody who's also good and has a better machine. He has a double advantage. He's a good pilot and a good machine. So beating them is going to be very, very hard.
Yeah. The best pilot in the world isn't going to win against the worst pilot in the world with a brick. Right? It's not going to work. Anyway. I think I remember you guys noticing this, but just in case, just to be clear, Shin's thanking of Athrun was meant to be condescending and talking down to him. Shin appears to believe that he was forgiven both because of how skilled of a pilot he is, and because those who forgave him understand him and appreciate his perspective and possibly even agree with it. The show does make it clear that this is highly unusual, but I think it is also important to note that things like this are not normally done because it can destroy military discipline if the soldiers feel like they can get away with anything. Knowing that, for what reason would Durandal be willing to potentially suffer a breakdown in military discipline by forgiving Shin without punishment?
Yes.
We literally cover that in our notes too.
Yeah, it's a typical Gundam situation. I mean, Amuro defected. The other people defected. Everybody was defecting. It's like, come on.
Well, technically, the other people weren't defecting. They were going to switch their postings without authority.
I said that, but I mentioned that before when giving having 2 and then 3 faith members in the same crew. Seems to be Randall just handing out faith badges everywhere, which doesn't work either, right?
Well, the problem is that the red herring that was Heinel. Not Heinel. Heine?
Heine.
Like, there are a lot of names that are similar in the anime space that are shows I'm currently watching. So, the red herring that was him being a faith member, being assigned to Minerva, and then just fucking dying.
Yep.
All right, I guess we'll just move on then with the acknowledgement that I may have just dead-ended a sentence. I don't know. I don't remember if it was stated that Logos created Blue Cosmos, but at the very least, Jibril is both the leader of Logos and Blue Cosmos, so they are essentially indistinguishable at this point.
Yeah, it's one organization nested into another.
I don't know, it's nested. I mean, I wrote a response ahead of time just in case. It was stated by Durandal that Logos created Blue Cosmos, and we've talked about it repeatedly.
Yeah.
Alright, and their last statement here. Jibril's lack of nuance or any depth is another reason why Destiny was disliked. Even Asriel in Season 1 had more depth and a nuance, even if his hatred of coordinators was born primarily of his envy of them. But he at least was intelligent and was at least interesting to watch his interaction with other characters, like Batgirl.
Yeah.
I mean, I would argue that his hatred of coordinators wasn't born from envy. It's because he got bullied as a kid. As we saw, the weird flashback of him getting bullied and his mom yelling at him about it. It's like, well, lifelong hatred, I guess.
Bullies become the victim becomes the aggressor, basically.
Well, no, just the nuance and reasons behind everything that they were indicating that Azrael had when we got on screen all boiled down to I was picked on as a kid.
Yeah.
It's real dumb. As it turns out, racism is always just fucking dumb.
Next.
I told you that was the last one. I was waiting for your weigh-in.
Yeah, no, we agree on that last point, so yeah.
Oh, but please, give me your argument about why racism isn't dumb.
So what do you want me to say? It would be dumb of me to try to say that it isn't.
Yeah, that's the.
I mean,
that's going to be the hidden landmine of the debate show that I'm going to start. Where like, okay, I'm going to play a thing, and you're going to play devil's advocate to everything I say. Now I'm going to say racism is dumb. You go.
Yeah, listen, I agree we made that racism is not dumb, but that puts it in the racism is evil category. So it's
that's what you do. You have to subvert. I'm going to give you verbal landmines to walk into, and you're going to have to very cleverly navigate your way through this field. All right, well, I guess that is everything. Well, let's go ahead and hop on into the episode and see maybe if we're going to get something good this time.
Maybe, hopefully, cross fingers.
But before we get started,
make sure that you hit the like button,
hit that subscribe button,
comment down below to feed that algorithm.
On top of all that, if you want to watch more shows like this,
unfiltered,
uncensored,
and uncut,
as well as some early access stuff,
you can check it out over on the Patreon.
It's just $5 a month, but hey, no pressure.
There's zero pressure in order to do that. It's just a little bit of extra support, and it would be greatly appreciated.
Now we begin in the middle of the winter wonderland.
That's why he's not taking the necklace.
Oh, apparently not.
Kind of the same way he's got his sister's phone.
Yeah.
Listen, I got nothing against Stella.
No. She's a victim of all this.
Which was Shin's point. Hell, I mean, even, we'll call him Owl, I'm not sure if the Owl is not Sting's last name. The other guy, the second guy, or I guess technically the first guy who dies from Phantom Pain.
Yeah.
Even he gets set off, and his only concern when he's set off is Mom's gonna die. Gotta save Mom.
Yeah.
Sting is the only one who really didn't get developed very far. Who did that? He was in the hand while the hand was moving. So how did that happen? You literally saved her from drowning one time. I don't think she would want to be buried in the water. I feel like Shin could have been Rao's greatest disciple.
I mean, the symbolism of her arms sort of goes stretching out as she goes deeper into this water. How deep is this lake anyway? It's
I mean,
pretty
there's an
deep.
18-meter mobile suit up to
Yeah.
about its cockpit,
Yeah.
which is about 13 meters up, typically.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's an 18-meter high. I don't know how tall the Impulse actually is.
Mhm.
Seems relatively the same height as everything else.
Yeah.
Again, I'm here for it. I'm here for the revenge plot. Like I said, I'm more emotionally invested now in the Shin makes people pay for the anguish that they're inflicting on the people he cares about and himself than I am in the what's going on in the mystery politics plot, because they've just kind of fucked off with it. Like, we were in deep on it for quite a while, and then it was like flashback, and then Durandal does the rescue thing with the orders, and it's like, okay, that was cool. And now what? So, like I said, it's more about what the interpersonal relationships the characters are, and the one we've been getting most of is Shin.
Yeah.
And Shin's started off entirely understandable.
I mean, it's finally they're giving Shin something to do, because Shin has been there, but he's been sidetracked about all this stuff. Other people have been talking around him about him, or even doing something completely different. Now he's coming to the forefront. Oh, now we know what the giant Gundam was. It was destroying.
I'd argue Shin's always been at the forefront. He just been sharing the time, and now he's not sharing it as much.
Well, there's the impulse and the freedom fighting, I guess. The world revealed.
It's something you don't typically consider.
しかしひどいものだわ。むちゃくちゃよ、地球軍は。
そうですね。
ディオキアにいらした時、議長も我々は何をやっているのかとおっしゃってたけど、本当ね。
Well, yeah, but he also said in front of the whole council meeting that we can't let them get away with this madness. So, it feels like we're pivoting towards actual war.
先の対戦の鉄は踏むまい。ナチュラルとはあくまでも融和をとする議長のお考えは良いですが、でも撃つべきものはさっさと撃ってしまった方がいいのではないでしょうか。でないといつになっても終わらないと思います。この戦争。
かもしれないわね。
Is Ray helping out Shin figure out who the freedom is?
I think just watching him.
シン、アスランだ。フリーダム。
Again, who's capturing these shots, by the way?
カメラが向いてからの反応が恐ろしく早いな。スラスターの操作も見事だ。思い通りに機体を振り回している。フリーダムのパワーはインパルスより上なんだ。
Yeah, like 4 times. Cover this.
レイも何をやってるんだ。
何よって。ご覧の通り、フリーダムとの戦闘シミュレーションですよ。一体何です？
なぜそんなことをしているんだ。
Because it's a mobile suit we actively fight all the time.
俺の知る限り、今モビルスーツで一番強いのはこいつです。あのデストロイさえ倒したんだ。なら、それを相手に訓練するのはいいことだと思いますが。
It's hard to argue against his logic train here.
あれを撃てるやつがザフトにいなきゃ困るでしょ。まるっきりわけのわかんないやつ。
Because we know you're not going to do it, Atherin.
何ですか。
アスラン。
I mean, Atherin is in the wrong, even if I wasn't on Shin's side.
シンの言っていることは間違っていないと思います。
See? Ray's got my
フ
back.
リーダムは強い。そしてどんな思惑があるかは知りませんが、我が軍ではないのです。シンの言うようなことは想定されます。
Also going to go AWOL again after it and kill some more Zaft soldiers.
Yeah.
He actually is. You might remember that Talia labeled the Archangel an enemy force. That means if he's on the Archangel, he's an enemy
Actually,
force.
Hein lost his life because he tried to backstab Kira. He disabled him.
He was an enemy combatant at the time. Again, Talia labeled the Archangel an enemy ship. That means that the fact that the freedom is based on it makes it an enemy mobile suit. Don't pull that shit. You lost the fight too.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that's a fight that Chin will win, even when we both go see. But
Hope he does. I was in the anti-Kira camp. I've always been. So,
oh, okay.
I've always been pro-Shin since the start of Destiny. Well, because again, Kira is on the self-important train, whereas Shin is on the revenge train. And I think I lean more towards revenge than I do. I'm part of the problem.
Yeah, okay. I can see that.
That's what I said. I don't know what the answer is to the seed problem because that's just human beings.
検査で出たフィジカルデータはこの船のデータベースにあったものと 100% 一致したわ。この人は
Alright, well, I can change the board now. Like I said, I was just waiting for them to say it.
肉体的には
His body.
Yeah, we discussed that in the notes, do you remember? They've literally introduced a mind-altering technology.
やれやれ。いつ少佐になったんだ俺は。大佐だと言ったろうが、ちゃんと捕虜だからって勝手に降格するなよ。
I mean, it heavily implies that I was right.
なんだよ。一目惚れでもした美人さん。
Hell, I think this even verifies a previous argument we had about instinctual reactions to things.
Yeah.
Are you still you without your memories? Because he's still acting like Mu without his memories.
Well, he doesn't recognize himself as Mu. He's recognized as Neo. So.
Right. If you were somebody else, would you still act the same? And Mu is proving yes.
確かにそうじゃなきゃ地球軍にいるはずなんかないでしょうけど。でもあれはムーさんなんです。だから僕は。
Well, at least we know it's not like he was. That just he was doing it for some weird reason. They wiped his memory, so I guess it's just they took a soldier and made them a new guy.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like, why would he be doing this otherwise? That's the part you could, like, put to paper.
でもこれで最後かな。もうごちゃごちゃで大変だよ。
俺の知る限り、今モビルスーツで一番強いのはこいつです。何かあった時、あれを撃てるやつがザフトにいなきゃ困るでしょ。
アスラン、どうしたんですか？こんなところで。
I regret that I self-destructed my mobile suit that was just as powerful as the Freedom back in the last war.
まあ、この間の件でも不問だったんだから、そんなもんといえばそんなもんなんでしょうけど。
I mean, yeah, she also has a point.
あんまりスーパーエースだから何やっても OK みたいになると不満が出
A
ますよね。
super ace. Okay.
Remember all our conversations where I said they should create something like a super ace? They fucking did!
なんとかしろと言いたいのか。 だが。
違いますよ。私はアスラにもっと頑張ってもらいたいだけです。もっと力を見せてくださいよ。そうすればシンだってもう少しおとなしく言うこと聞くとも思うんですよね。
Or you can just order him to shut up because you're a faith member.
アスランは優しすぎますよ。そういうところも好きですけど。そうですよ。
By the way, I know your girlfriend's not real. What?
せっかく権限も力もお持ちなんだから、もっと自分の思った通りにやればいいのにって。
権限、力。
そうでしょ。
Nobody could read faces in the show. I was pissed off. She was like, yeah, you're right.
では議長、よろしいですか。
あ、頼むよ。始めよう。
3、2。
皆さん、私はプラント最高評議会議長ギルバート・デュランダルです。我らプラントと地球の方々との戦争状態が解決しておらぬ中、突然このようなメッセージをお送りすることをお許しください。ですがお願いです。どうか聞いていただきたいのです。
艦長、デュランダル議長がプラントから緊急メッセージを。あらゆるメディアを通し全世界へ向けられています。
Yeah, cool. The plants can take over all forms of communication now.
何？
I don't think it's takeover sent in tonal or just nothing at least like takeover.
艦内に流して各員可能な限り聞くようにと。
はい。
Zaft thirsts for the strength of its people.
Yeah, that would be a mistake.
アスラン？
ああ、いや、すまない。
こうして未だ戦火の収まらぬわけ。
何これ？
議長の緊急メッセージだと。本当のわけ。各国の政策に基づく情報の有無により、未だご存じない方も多くいらっしゃるでしょう。
Exactly sure how you hide that information.
嘘。
なんだこれは。
怪獣。
これは果実、ユーラシア中央から西側地域の都市へ向け、連合の新型巨大兵器が進行した時の様子です。なんだこれは。
Yeah, how did they get camera footage of our skyscraper tall moving fortress destroying multiple cities? I think it's incredibly stupid that Jibril thought he was just going to be a secret.
Yeah, that's kind of dumb. He was trying to send a message, right? Kill all these people to send a message. Why keep it a secret then? Either you want to send a message or you don't, right? Oh, oops, it failed. Okay.
こうして住民を年ごと焼き払うことが、確かに我々の軍は連合のやり方に異を唱え、その同盟国であるユーラシアからの分離、独立を果たそうとする人々を人道的な立場からも支援してきました。こんな得るもののない
I mean, yeah, it's essentially all North America at this point.
自分たちの平和な暮らしを取り戻したいと。ステラ。戦場になど行かず、ただ愛する者たちと共にありたいと。そう願う人々を我々は支援しました。
あの連合の化け物が何もかも焼き払って。
It's like 3 times in the last 2 episodes.
なのに和平を望む我々の手を跳ねのけ、我々と手を取り合い、憎しみで打ち合う世界よりも対話による平和への道を選ぼうとしたユーラシア西側の人々を連合は裏切りとして有無を言わさず焼き払ったのです。子供まで。止めろ。何をやってる。早くやめさせろ。
Or else they'll find out the thing we meant for them to find out in the first place.
どういうことだね、これは。これは君の責任問題だな。何をしようというのかね、デュランダルは。
Put them in a rebellion and isolate your power and cut you out of power, which is always what he's been doing so far. If you didn't figure it out, and you play right into it.
Oh, that's interesting.
Oh, he's put the
They
orb?
edited the footage.
Yeah.
平和など許さぬと戦わねばならないと誰がなぜ言うのです。なぜ我々は手を取り合ってはいけないのですか。
Also, why is Atherin getting angry that they edited the freedom out?
この度の戦争は確かに私どもコーディネーターの一部の者たちが起こした大きな惨劇から始まりました。
ラク様だ。
それを止めなかったこと、それによって生まれてしまったあまたの悲劇を私どもも忘れはしません。被災された方々の悲しみ、苦しみは今もなお深く果てないことでしょう。それがまた新たなる戦いへの引き金を引いてしまったのも仕方のないことだったのかもしれません。ですがこのままではいけません。こんな打ち合うばかりの世界に安らぎはないのです。果てしなく続く憎しみの連鎖の苦しさ、私たちはもう十分。
Like, is this gonna be the call to bring war to North America?
Probably.
Take your sorrow, turn it into hatred. Not
Yeah.
hatred, not hatred. What the anger?
優しさと光のあふれる世界へ帰ろうではありませんか。それが私たちすべての人の真の願いでもあるはずです。
なのにどうあってもそれを邪魔しようとする者がいるのです。それも古の昔から自分たちの利益のために戦えと戦えと。
Wow, we're calling out Logos.
Yeah.
従わない者は裏切りだ。そう叫んで常に我らに武器を持たせ敵を作り上げて腕と指し示してきた者たち、平和な世界にだけはさせまいとする者たち、このユーラシア西側の惨劇も彼らの仕業であることは明らかです。
And my difficulty is the fact that he keeps getting shown our main characters and I'm getting angry.
Yeah.
It's like, this makes the most sense. I feel like we're on the edge of world peace.
コーディネーターを忌み嫌うあのブルーコスモスも彼らの作り上げたものに過ぎないことを皆さんはご存知でしょうか。その背後にいる彼ら、そうして常に敵を作り上げ常に世界に戦争をもたらそうとする軍需産業複合体死の商人ロース、彼らこそが
Oh, faces on screen.
Yeah.
Also, a bunch of people I can get names for later when I rewatch this for notes. Oh, literally calling you out.
Yeah.
Oh, see, Shin's smiling.
二度と戦争など起きない平和な世界です。よってそれを阻害せんとする者、世界の真の敵ロゴスこそ滅ぼさんと戦うことを私はここに宣言します。
これは大変なことに。
Shut the front door. You have a problem with the fact that we're gonna stop the war makers?
I told you he wanted to set up himself as a savior.
He
It's
didn't,
always
he
been
didn't
the-
have to. Logos set him up as a savior.
Yeah.
See, again, why the fuck are our main characters angry? Literally, the bad guys have been pointed out to the world, and they're like, I shouldn't have done that. Fuck off. At least Shin was smiling. Shin recognizes this is a good thing.
The question is, what are they willing to do to get at them?
I would argue anything.
Well, not anything, because if you kill more people, if you destroy entire cities or something like that to get at these guys, then you're doing the same thing that they accuse them of them doing. So, oh, they're in New York City. Okay, destroy New York City. You know what I'm saying?
If they're not going to stop, then what length do you take to stop them?
Yeah, but the very justification
God,
they're using,
do you
they're
not
using the same
remember? Do you remember back to the arguments that we used to have about what's his name? He has the scar, had the scar across his face in season 1, killed Ellie.
Yeah.
Yeah, about how he would not do everything in your power to make that guy pay. He does not get a free pass. Hold on, next time on.
ロゴスを打つ新たな夢に熱狂する世界その狂乱の中たった一文届けられた命令二人が打ち合わねばならないその訳は
Yeah, but why are they going after the Archangel then?
次回機動戦士ガンダムシードデスティニー悪夢自由の海へ駆け抜けろアークエンジェル
Because obviously the Archangel's going to stand opposed to this, and that's what they're going to fight. Because, again, I don't get it. They're like, we're exposing the bad guys, and they're like, it's bad. Shouldn't expose the bad guys. Yeah, but
for example, I wouldn't call for the bombing of an entire city just to get Isaac.
I really feel like you would have. I feel like you have probably said that. You've probably said that.
I would not. I've never said that.
You're like, fuck that city off the face of Orb, so long as it kills Yuna, is probably something you've said before.
I probably said that he should die in a fire, but that's different.
An all-encompassing fire that destroys the entire city that he's in just to make sure that it gets him is probably what you've said.
No, that's not probably what I said, and there's a tape to prove otherwise.
There's a tape? How long ago did we start recording this shit? Remember when we started this reaction series in the 1980s? We started on Betamax and then went to VHS? Check the tape. Something no child has said in the last 10, 20 years.
Check the video. There's recordings of it.
I'm just saying, you've been pretty extreme about how to go after Yasek, and I feel like that same extremism should be pointed at the people who are literally causing human suffering. Apparently, through all of recent history.
I never call for the destruction of cities or planets or anything like that, so no.
Well, to be fair, destroying the planet would be a bit far in this context, although it wouldn't be the death of humanity, so...
Or would it?
Like you said, we're on the verge of world peace, and our main characters are like, oh, this is bad. It's like, why? Why? We're literally calling out... It's like, we created the most wanted poster and then put it on the screens so everyone could see. You didn't know this, but these are actually all the people who are guilty of literally at least 3 cities getting wiped off the map.
Mm-hmm. And continuing a war in spite of, entreaties of the country.
And also are literally the leaders of our sci-fi KKK. Like, literally, these are the most evil people, and we're going to take care of them. And then everybody who already wants to deal with us is already going to be dealing with us, because they don't want to deal with those guys. Because they literally just wiped their own allies off of the map.
Yeah.
And then again, our main characters, who I have to assume we're supposed to be rooting for, are angry.
Yeah, like I said, the problem is they made...
You're assuming that they're going to go to extreme measures to take these guys out. Like taking out cities or something. You jumped to that extremist point of view as an argument for not doing it. That yet to be seen.
No, well, we'll see what happens.
Well, I'm saying you jumped to that. I don't think that's even a thing on the table. I don't think they're going to be like, okay, fire the rods from God, take out all the landmarks that they might be hiding under. No one said anything about that. They said, we're going to take out Logos. And the next time on implies that they're going to go to war to take out Logos. Which is arguably a good thing.
Yeah. Okay. It's just I don't trust Durando, that's all.
Cool. Again, this is the whole previous argument that we've had before about how much bad can Durandal do to create the ultimate good. And I think you're on the Rorschach boat of I'll tell everybody everything, no matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck you. I'm on the Big Blue Dick side, I forget his name.
He F's out, he leaves the planet, doesn't do anything.
No, he kills Rorschach.
Yeah, but then he leaves. It's like...
Yeah. Well, technically, then he goes off to DC Universe and does more stuff, but... then he gets into actually what turns out to be not a fight with Superman. But,
one that he wouldn't lose because, Superman couldn't touch him, but, sure.
Yeah, that's the point. So the point is that he has a vision of Superman rushing at him super angry like this, and then his vision goes to black and he doesn't know what happens afterward. So you, the reader, are, does Superman fucking kill him somehow? Because I don't know how else his vision goes to black and he sees nothing. And it just turns out he has like missing parts. He just doesn't see everything anymore. He's not omnipotent because Superman doesn't fucking fight him. Because of course he doesn't.
Yeah.
Superman's temporarily angry for some reason, and that's where it stops.
Yeah.
Anyway, my point being is I forgot what we were talking about.
I mean, also, this is what, episode 32 out of 50 episodes? So I suspect there might be a little more twists and turns here.
Well, of course there's going to be more twists and turns if our good guys keep fighting other good guys. This is one of those problems of, like, limited resource, and then we start fighting over the limited resources, over how to use the limited resources. Yeah, so I feel like we're just eating up our time on, hey, Kira needs to fight Athrun some more, Kira needs to fight Shin some more, Shin needs to fight Athrun some more. It's like, why? Can we not, like, why is this a bad thing? Athrun, why are you angry that Durandal pointed out the bad guys? Is it because you know he's lying about Mirror? Big whoop. If you have to lie a couple of times to make sure everybody's happy, cool, do it.
Anyway.
It's harm versus good.
Yeah, we'll see about it.
It's the non-committal answer.
Yes, it is.
We'll see about it. I'm not going to say something that will make me wrong so that I can be right in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. Sorry, it's not a great reaction point. You need to say something definitive so people can argue about it in the comments at the very least.
I think the problem is, again, like I said, they made the bad guys so cartoonish that I think this is what's going to happen. Like you're in, Durandal's, he's right and all that. And then they're going to have to make Durandal or somebody on his side do something so cartoonish in return, like, oh, but I thought he was the good guy. Oh, it turns out he was like cackling evil. I think it was going to turn out that he was behind the whole thing in the first place. Because the way he knows who Logos is, he knew the Destroy and existed, but didn't do anything about it. He seems to have connections to the genetics program that may or may not have created the extended. Yeah, I think he's going to pull a Palpatine and go like, yes, this was my plan all along. And I'm like, so you started a war to kill a bunch of people to justify you taking over the world for the sake of the world, I guess.
Again, though, for me, you're pointing out how cartoonishly evil the bad guys are. And then the characters we followed the entire time are angry that we're going to fight them. So, guys that are so evil that we on the outsider, they're cartoonishly evil. And yet they're angry that we're going to fight them. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I know you're...
I don't think they're angry. I think they're more concerned than
literally, we saw clenched fists, unhappy faces, snarling faces. Like, Lacus is the only one you could possibly say is hard to read, but that was even unhappy Lacus face. They're not happy, and then we saw next episode preview, they're gonna fight each other about it. So, very clearly, doesn't matter how mustache-twirling bad guy you are, Kira and them don't like it if you go fight them. It's dumb. It's very dumb. I don't understand. I don't understand how I'm supposed to be on their side.
It's taking pacifism. Well, not because they're not really pacifists. They're willing to fight. So, taking whatever is their philosophy is of anti-war philosophy, I would say it, or anti-conflict philosophy, to an extreme as well. Just again, kind of dumb.
Okay. Well, I guess that is it for this episode. So once again, I have been Theta. This has been Lessons. We've been Stone-Faced Reactions, and we will catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another Stone-Faced Reactions. If you have an idea of another video we could go ahead and watch, go ahead and put it in the comments down below and we'll add it to the wheel. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know what you thought about this video and what parts you liked. And until then, we'll see you next time. Is this too goofy?